Hey, my name is Carrie and my trail name is Caboose. Last year I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I started on March 22nd of 2024 and summited on September 9th. And I YouTubed my entire trip on a daily vlog. And so I have those in my playlist. But if you would like to go back and see those, I would welcome you to do that. I had a great time doing that and really appreciated all the support that I received from people that watched my channel. And so if you are currently watching somebody on the Appalachian Trail or any other long distance hike, I would encourage you to drop them a comment because it really does help our morale and keeps us encouraged. So for all of you guys that did that for me and during my hike, thank you so much. But this video today is part 2 of my post-trail chat with Sloggy. So I hope you enjoy this. If you don't mind subscribing, liking, sharing, all of them, any of the above, I would appreciate it because that way it'll push my content out so that other people that might be interested in this type of information will be able to see and find. So let's get on to talking with Sloggy. Were you an early starter or did you hike all day and into the dark, or?
I eventually started earlier. I've always been, and again, going and hiking for a week in the 100-mile wilderness is not like taking on something like the AT, because you pack your food and after a week you're done and you go home, take a shower and you're good.
Right.
You don't have the resupplies and everything. So whenever I've done that, I basically kind of like 8 to 5 is always kind of, maybe 8:30 to
Right.
5:30 or 7. But I'd always consider myself an 8 to 5 hiker if someone asked me the question. On the trail though, I started to, and for me, and I know other people, maybe not everybody, but it takes me a while to, you got to pack everything up.
Right.
And so I would try to, for most of the trail, I would start at 7 and then try to be done by 5. And we would plan our days like that, like, okay, by 5 where can we get? I don't mind. I actually enjoy night hiking. I only did it twice,
Right.
the whole trip, but I do enjoy it. But the thing about night hiking too is I always like to have enough time to get to camp, not feel rushed, set up my tent, do same as you, do a video, do my journal for the day,
Right.
and just relax. My goal early on was 12 hours off my feet.
Smart.
So 7 to 7. And
Right.
I stuck pretty good to that the entire hike. I'm like, if I can be on my feet half the day, then off the other half. And I got really good, especially with the rain early on, at packing up my whole tent inside the tent.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
So everything, and then all I had was I'd just jump out and all I had to put in my bag was the tent.
Right.
And that especially if it was chilly or something.
Right. Right.
Or raining. But that rule I kind of set for myself, the 12 hours off my feet, I think really helped me finish it, to be honest.
Yeah, we only did it a couple times, but I really enjoyed starting early in the dark and walking into the daylight. That was kind of a cool experience. I enjoyed that. But I did enjoy getting to camp before dark because we had to throw our food back, our bear line, and we were not very good at that. So did you have a food bag, or did you use the Ursack or a bear canister? What did you use?
I used a bear bag. I had a Hyperlight kind of bag that I used as my food bag.
Right.
I didn't do a canister. I did hang it in the Smokies, and honestly, and some in Virginia too, like the Shenandoahs, because I did see bears there.
Right, and there were boxes there too. A lot.
There were boxes. That was great. If there was a box, obviously I threw it in there because I worry more about mice than bears.
Right.
Except there's always places where bears are historically around.
Right.
But after that, I didn't really. I mean, to be totally honest, I kept my food in my tent.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Probably the most of the Northeast.
Yeah.
And especially Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine for sure, just because of my experience.
Right.
Bears really aren't as big an issue Now, I'm not saying, if you take food, you can't just throw it into the woods and not expect a bear to come,
Right.
um, that's just the way I do it, I guess. I
Right.
wouldn't recommend it, but that's the way I did it.
Well, I think more people probably did it that way than we hung our food every night. And it was sometimes a nightmare. I mean, we were in the dark, we were in the rain. One time we threw it over a tree that was kind of like angled like this. And the tree came crashing down, and we had to find another tree. Like, it was pretty comical sometimes. One time I went to throw, I was so bad at like side arming it or doing it underhand. I tried to go overhand, and it just took like a nosedive down to the ground. I mean, so many funny moments trying to take care of our food. But while I was out there, I was thinking I would love to be able to get a hold of the hiking clubs that are maintaining that and see what it takes to get bear boxes or cables at the campsites, because people will hang the food if there's cables, and they'll put them in the beer boxes if there's beer boxes, and most people will do that, you know, and
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of it's geographic. I mean, I can only speak for Maine, but to get bear
right.
boxes into some of the places like Chairback Gap Lean-To, that shelter. I mean, you could carry it up there, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to. So, but we were lucky this summer. We replaced two privies
Mm-hmm.
this summer. I say we. I missed it. I would have loved to have been there to see it.
Right.
But they hired a helicopter
Oh, wow.
to helicopter in all the materials. So they put the privies together at someone's house, labeled them all like an erector set, took it apart, put them on pallets, and then the helicopter just kept flying.
uh, yeah.
He could take in, I think, up to 500 pounds at a time.
Nice.
And so they replaced the privy at Chairback Gap Lean-To and also Cloud Pond
Nice.
Lean-To. And while they were doing it, they're like, okay, this is a
Right.
good time
Right.
to put the bear box in
Right.
because we don't have to carry it up a mountain,
Yeah.
which would be, again, you could do it, but you'd need a bunch of guys or
Yeah.
gals and together and just keep like taking turns or something.
Right.
So I think that's because they're not super expensive.
Right. Well, what about like, the food bag holder, the at Baxter, over by the ranger station, something like
Oh,
that
like the
would be
line?
more. Well, it wasn't, it was just a pole, and then it had the hooks on it, and you
Right.
could cable it up there. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. I think cables could be used
yeah,
sometimes. And I don't know where you guys stayed when you're in the 100-mile wilderness, but there's not a lot of room
no,
around some of those shelters for
right.
tents and things.
A couple times we stayed on the side of the roads.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess they could try to like crowbar, if you will, one or two in,
Yeah,
and it would help the people that were right there. But I always feel that the majority of people are,
right,
kind of scattered all over the place.
right.
But I'm excited. We've got a couple out there anyway
Yeah,
because it
that's pretty
helps with
cool.
the mice. The 100-mile wilderness. It's I have mixed feelings since I've been going up there hiking it every year since 2011. The amount of people out there has just exponentially grown, which is
Right,
great. I love to see people out there, but
right,
with people, especially, I think through hikers get a bad rap. I think through hikers, as far as like leaving garbage and things like
right.
that, right. I mean, I don't know. It's
Yes. No, I
just my
agree with you 100%.
experience. But you get big groups of people just out for 3 days or 5 or 7, and you know what? I don't think it's on purpose, but they tend to leave a lot of garbage, and that's
Right,
what draws the mice and things.
right,
So I think with the excuse me, the bear boxes, that'll help reduce
right,
just the mice alone. Not even thinking
right.
about bears.
Yeah, I know. I noticed a lot of times if there were not necessarily through hikers, but other hikers out there, the stuff that they'd put in the fires to try to burn off. I had one was a Mountain House meal packet, like that's not going to burn off. So, but you know where Jacob's Ladder is? It's
Yes, I do
south.
exactly.
So we hadn't gotten there yet. In fact, we got through it and didn't even realize that that's what we'd done. But you too? Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
But we were going to stay at a campsite right before that, and it was starting to rain, and none of the trees were, you couldn't hang a bear bag anywhere. There were no limbs that were low enough. And so we ended up we took a shuttle in and stayed at a hotel because, down there, I mean, the bears are pretty prevalent. So those are the areas that I think, we need to find a way to get bear boxes in and cables, because not only is it dangerous for us, it's also dangerous for the bears. So,
Yes.
but
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I remember that because right before it, there was like a little country store or something down the road that I went down and got ice cream and stuff. And then I went up and I looked and I'm like, wow, that because it sounds like it would be really difficult.
right.
Jacob's Ladder. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and I remember I got up there and I remember thinking like, oh, that was it was a nice hike or whatever. It was a little
Right.
hard, but I'm like, oh, okay, I just did that because I didn't really research. Like I know Maine really well, and obviously the 100 Mile Wilderness, but I didn't watch any YouTube videos.
Uh,
I had heard of all these different places. There's a podcast that I listen to a lot, and they have through hikers on, so I would listen to a lot of the
right.
stories. But I remember I was walking along, and all of a sudden I come up and there's a sign, the Cookie Lady, the Southern Cookie Lady,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my god! I mean, I didn't even know I would hit it.
Yeah.
So I would just run into these things, and the guillotine.
Right.
Like I was just hiking by myself, and I look up, I'm like, oh, that's the I'd heard about it, I'd seen pictures
Right.
of it,
Yeah.
but I just didn't. I guess I just wanted more surprises
Right.
on some of those things, and I had my gear dialed in. I mean, I think I was on like my seventh backpack, and the 100 Mile Wilderness is a great shakedown hike.
Oh, there's no doubt. What
So I
backpack
mean, I
did
had all
you
my
use?
gear, so I didn't have to go and research the gear. It was
Right.
just all these different places, and I would just hit them, and it'd be like a great surprise.
Right. What backpack did you use?
A hyperlight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep, is the Wind Rider. They changed the name a little bit since I got it, but it's the 55 liter. I think Wind Rider 55 they
And
call it
you were
now.
really happy with it.
I was,
Yeah.
I was. It was really good. I mean, I've got probably 3 to 4 thousand miles on that thing,
Right.
and
And
I think I've got one small little piece of the tenacious tape
yeah.
on it because I had like a little pinhole and I just didn't want any water in it. And I put that
Right.
on and it works great. I love it.
The hyperlights don't have load lifters. Did that impact your comfort level at all?
I didn't, I was jealous of people that had that because I was wondering if it would help. So, I mean,
Right.
I've never used them, so I don't
Okay.
know.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's the only pack that I've used that hasn't bothered me.
Right.
Maybe if I tried one of the packs that had those, I'd be like, oh my goodness, this is even better. So I don't know.
Yeah. And
It did,
then,
but it's perfect pack for me.
right. What kind of tent did you use?
I used the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2,
Okay.
and I was going to use the one below that, but my brother-in-law actually started the AT like 2 or 3 weeks before me, and he was starting from scratch, gear and everything.
Okay.
And he found the Copper Spur on eBay for like $200 cheaper than like retail
Right.
in the wild. So I was a little leery, but he bought it and got it, and it looked great, and it was really what it said. So I bought it. I got it for like I think like $305,
Yeah, that's a good deal.
which that's a really good deal for that tent.
Right.
And I like the freestanding. It is more weight, but like you said, there were times that I had to tent like on the road, on the side of a
Right.
road. There was no way I'd have been able to get stakes in
Right.
at all. And I did the 2-man. I was going to do 1-man for weight. Then I'm like, look, I'm going to be living in this thing for 5 months.
Yeah.
And I was so glad because a 2-man or 2-person tent, it's not really.
Right.
Like, did you have a 2-person?
I had a 2-person. Yeah.
Could 2 of you have fit in it comfortably?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So I started with a Durston X-Mid 2.
Yeah.
And I kept it all the way. And then in Virginia, I went to a REI and they had it on sale, the tent that you have. And season 1 bought hers. I bought one, but I had it sent home because I
Yep.
didn't want to use it until I got to New Hampshire for the platforms because I wasn't really confident in if I was going to be able to do that. And so my footprint was really big. There were a lot of Durstons out there, but the footprint is really big for those. And so there were a couple times that it was hard to find space. But when I got to New Hampshire, my daughter shipped the other one and I flipped. And I could have stayed with the X-Mid because I figured out how to do the platform. And honestly, I think I only stayed on a platform twice. but I thought
Yeah.
that every campsite was going to be a platform. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pockets on the inside. I was able to put all my gear on the inside. I prefer uh, the pole, like the Durston. Just the I think it's easy to set up. It's a little bit quicker, but I enjoyed the Big Agnes too. So
Yeah, yeah, I loved them. I'd be willing to tinker around with some other ones, but some of those things are pretty expensive to just
right,
try.
right,
And I figure and that was one of the things too. People have asked me about what would I trade out, and I don't think I would really trade out anything. I mean, you talk about like the big ones, like
right.
my pack was great. I have had the same Thermarest pad for this will be like the 12th or 13th year I've had the exact same sleeping pad. The thing is like unkillable.
And
I
you
had
didn't get
patched
any
it
holes in
one
it.
time. Huh?
Did you get any holes in it this trip?
No,
Yeah, that's amazing.
I
Yeah,
couldn't believe it because I'd had it 12. Yeah, this will be the 13th summer coming up. I'm like, I've had this 12 years. There's no way it's going to make the whole AT.
right,
And it's got so many lives. So my pad, I'm still not. So my bag, my pack, my tent, my like sleeping system, like with the bed, like either the quilt or sleeping bag. I'm still a little up in the air on that. I'm still
right.
searching for something. I like the quilt, but I don't know. I started. I did use a liner.
Yeah.
I was happy with that, especially when it was really hot,
Mm-hmm.
because I like to sleep with something on me.
Right.
So when it was really hot at night, I just would get in that like a sleeping bag, and I found that very comfortable. That was something that I'd never used before, ever backpacking. And
Right.
I really that's like I've added that to my regimen now.
What about rain gear? There's like my brother right now is kind of in limbo about, like what jacket to get. And he likes to use a windbreaker and a rain jacket. And I keep on telling him just use your rain jacket as your windbreaker, but he's being stubborn. But what rain
Yeah,
jacket did you use?
I used I had gone to Kilimanjaro in January,
Wow.
and we knew it was going to be wet and rainy there a little bit. We actually got quite lucky, but so I bought an outdoor research
Mm-hmm.
raincoat because I had a lot of good reviews on it, and a
Right.
friend of mine who was going with us used it, and I used it over there, and it worked great. But like anything, if you walk in rain for 6 or 7 hours, it's going to
Right.
get through. But I really liked that, and that was pretty much all I did, and I only wore it when it was colder, like in the Smokies and
Right.
things. I mean, once I got to the Northeast, and again, we were fortunate; we had really good weather. But if it
Yeah.
was warm and it rained, I didn't even bother
Right.
taking it out. I wore the same T-shirt the whole AT and
Right.
just wring it out
Good way to
and
wash it.
yeah. Which I'll give that a break. I used a couple of icebreaker T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're wool. They're
Right.
like $70 a piece. You can sometimes get them on sale. I mean, they're an expensive T-shirt.
Right.
But those things are awesome. I mean, I wore mine just about every single day for 5 months straight
Right.
and put it through all the rigmarole. And I did throw it away when I got home. But they're pretty durable.
Right. Yeah, I had an outdoor vitals rain jacket that I used at the beginning, at the end, because it was a little bit thicker. And then I got this one from um, it's a European company, and I can't remember the name of it, but the recommendation came from Jupiter Hikes.
Oh
He's
yeah.
a YouTuber, and it's super, super thin. And so I use that in the summertime. But I used it mainly when it was too cold in the morning because it was easy to take off and just stick in the front of my backpack instead of having to open it up. I probably used it more that way than I did for when it was raining.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember I specifically when you said that I went the morning I hiked from uh, Mizpah Hut campsite just south of Mount Washington.
Uh-huh.
That day we hiked from there to Washington and then down. I wore it just about the whole day because it wasn't like crazy cold, but it wasn't raining, but it was
Right.
windy,
Right.
and the raincoat was just enough, like a windbreaker with my
Right.
T-shirt or something
Yep.
on, just enough to save from kind of really getting really, really cold.
And that's all you needed, right? I mean, the rain jacket, like took care of everything as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, and I didn't do pants. Like I wore pants till maybe like I had used Cool Kuhl. They're really a really
Right.
good brand. I've used those for years. They have zipaways, and I wore those through up through the Smokies, and then I think I sent them home from Woods Hole. It was starting to get warm,
Right.
and I was looking to pare down a little weight, and I'm like, I don't think. And so I just wore shorts
Yeah.
from, pretty much from Woods Hole all the way north. I did wear
Right.
them all the way, and I never went back to pants again.
Wow.
So,
That
um,
company is Decathlon. It just
oh, okay, yep, yeah, I've
so
heard of them.
I used the rain pants at the beginning, and then I had a kilt or quilt, a
Yep.
kilt. I did not like that at all. I
Hmm.
sent my rain pants home when it started getting warm, and then when we started getting back into like the whites, I got another pair of rain pants because I needed to butt slide a
Yeah,
lot, and that saved me. And they held up really good. They were a Columbia brand because I couldn't. I had outdoor research but they had bit the dust, and so I had to get another pair. So I got Columbia, and they look brand new still. And I butt sled all the time through New Hampshire and Maine.
yeah, yeah. That's well, a lot of people did. I did.
Yeah,
Sometimes not on
not on
purpose.
purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, well,
Probably my worst injury was a butt slide.
oh really? That's what I was going
Yeah.
to ask you. Like, what kind of injuries did you experience while you were on the trail?
I mean, probably. Well, I don't know. It's so I had hiked the up into Virginia and really hadn't had much trouble. Like, I mean, I fell a few times and things, but
Right.
nothing, nothing too bad. And the pain would kind of move around, right? Your back one day and your
Right.
shoulder. I did get like 5 days, 6 days in. I remember I was at cheese factory campsite or something
Right.
like that. And I just
Yep.
had the worst back spasm in like my lower right back. And I'm like, I'm done. Like I thought I was done.
Right.
And it was like incredible pain. I could barely set my tent up. And I went to bed and just crashed. And the next morning I got up and I think I'd forgot about it. And I got up and just started packing up. And I'm like, oh, thank my back's good. So that was early on. And then I'd never got shin splints before in my life,
Ooh.
but I got off trail, and I think I know why I did it. I hit I was going to take a zero in Leesburg, Virginia, on
Okay.
Father's Day with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine who moved down there from Maine. And I was doing the beginning. I was going to have to do like the first 8 or 10 miles of the roller coaster,
Right.
and I don't know, my just shoulders had got sore or something. So I just carried my poles or put them in, and is going all that up and down.
Right.
And I was good at his house. And that next day, getting back on the trail, shin split. So for like the next 300 miles,
Mm-hmm.
especially in my right shin, just terrible shin
Oh
splints.
wow.
And I can remember hitting like a couple of Walmarts and getting those bags that you hit them and crack
Yep.
them.
The ice
And I
bags.
would carry like 3 or 4 of those
Oh
in
wow.
my backpack.
Yeah.
And I made it to that microtel in Hamburg.
Right.
And I just sat in bed like the whole night and just put like 2 big bags of ice.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days later, they went away.
Wow. Yeah.
And I never had them again.
That's amazing because when I had them, I didn't get them for hiking, but when I was younger as an athlete, they stayed with me for a really long time. So,
Yeah, I was lucky. I fell behind a lot of people, which was fine because it was in Pennsylvania when we had a lot, walking through those fields and things.
right.
And I'd be texting people and they're like, oh, I did 28 miles today. I did 26. And I was hiking longer days,
Right.
and I was still just getting my like 14, 15, 16, which was
Yeah.
fine because that's
Right.
what I had wanted to
Absolutely.
average. But I could
Right.
have, if my shins hadn't been so sore, I could have gone faster. But
Right.
it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And then my second biggest injury was we were somewhere in Western Maine, and we were on the Balds, and it was raining. And the rocks were really slippery.
Yeah.
So I went to the side a little bit to try to be cute, so I wouldn't slide down the rock. And my right foot caught some of the moss,
Mm.
and just I went down probably like 12, 14 feet
Wow. That's
sliding
scary.
down. And the only thing that stopped me was my right elbow, and like it still hurts. Well, how many?
Wow.
What? September, October, November, December, January. Almost 5 months later, and that right elbow still
Yeah.
sore from slamming on the rock, stopping
Yeah.
me.
It's
So
hard. I don't know that I can truly communicate to people what those descents were like. Those were really, I mean, some of those slabs were pretty sketchy, you know,
yeah. Yeah,
but
you had to be careful for sure. And I just kept
yeah,
saying, I think similar to the lines you did was like, okay, all these other people did it.
right.
Well, I know it's not impossible, so I'm just going to take my
Exactly.
time. Just take your time and,
Yep.
you know, pluck
Yeah.
along.
And if it's not a good weather day, don't go. Like if it's going to be too sketchy, wait a day. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be adaptable. I found,
absolutely.
luckily that's one of my, I've worked for companies and you do these like different you fill out these surveys and things and it shoots you back what you are,
Right.
like different characteristics. And like adaptability was one that came up for me a
Right.
lot on these little tests. And it came in handy because any day, like on my YouTube channel, I would on the video
Right.
for the morning, I'd be like, okay, we're gonna hike 15 miles today, and we're gonna stay at this shelter, and we're gonna hit this deli or whatever. And then at the end of
Right.
the day, I'd be like, well, we hiked 11 miles. Like every day would change, and I could see
Right.
how that if someone was like really rigid, that would drive you nuts out there.
Right.
It
Yeah.
could.
We set out to do Mahoosuc Notch. We set out to do, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 miles. I think we only did 5. It was wet. It was cold. It was raining. We made it through Mahoosuc Notch. It took us 2.5 hours to get through Mahoosuc Notch. And then when you get to the end of it, you think that you're done with it all. And like Mahoosuc Ridge or whatever doesn't look any different than and so we got to the first shelter after that and we were soaked. And so we were concerned about, possible hypothermia. And so we just stayed at the shelter and I think we only did 5 miles that day. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Which, if you're not under a time constraint, you
right,
just say, for whatever, for safety or just for
right,
your body that needs a little
yep,
break. It's you have to be willing to do that, or else you
right,
could really, you could end your hike.
absolutely not worth it.
No.
So the other thing I was going to talk about or just mention when we talked about the birds is the flowers up there or down there in the south. They were all over the place. There were
Yeah.
a couple, I don't know if when you came through, but there were fields of just little white flowers that looked like snow.
I think it was the Laurel.
Yeah.
There's Laurel. And I remember there was a place where I hiked near, it was south of Uncle Johnny's.
Hmm.
Was it? Yes, it was south of Uncle Johnny's, near Irwin, Tennessee.
Right.
And I was supposed to meet a friend there, an old co-worker that was going to meet me at a road crossing. And I even think the section you're going through was named like Laurel Mountain
Right.
or
I think you're
or
right. Yeah.
or something up there. And it was
Right.
just like you said, it was awesome. Like
Yeah.
it was just I remember just taking pictures of it because
Yeah.
I'm used to hiking in Maine and like there's no flowers really in Maine
Right.
and the trail is like the woods are right in on you.
Yeah.
So you just have the trail. But I remember being able to see there was no underbrush and like you said, all those white
Yeah.
little laurel flowers. And it was just incredible. I would have liked to have, I mean, you don't want to start too late, but in my mind, I'm like, wow, if I had started, because then you'd get the rhododendrons and
Right.
stuff.
And the mountain
Because a lot of
glories.
those I didn't ever
Yeah.
see because we got ahead
Oh,
of it. And you did
so
probably
beautiful.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to see them, but a little bit further north. We didn't see them in the Smokies. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. And but we also took so many pictures of mushrooms. There were
Yeah.
so many different kinds. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
but
enjoyed that little stuff, those little pictures and formations and
right.
uh, pictures of the mushrooms. They'd be on trees or on a
Yep.
rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot of cool little
Yeah.
things.
I have so many of those pictures. Did you stay in Buena Vista? Do you remember that
Yes, I
town?
did.
You did?
Yep.
So we stayed at a little motel and we were able to walk to places and stuff. But before we got there, I think we did like 2 or 3 20+ mile days, and my knees were killing me at that point because there were a lot of that was the first, and from what I can remember, that was the first section of the trail that had a lot of big descents with big
Yeah.
steps.
It
And
did. It did. And there was a lot of fires. It looked like there'd been a lot of fires
yes,
around there and stuff
yes.
too.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but yeah, we did you stay at any of the huts?
In New Hampshire,
Yeah,
like, or let's see. No, I just tented on the platforms.
right. We stayed at
Yeah,
one
no, I did.
platform. Yeah.
Let me make sure. No, just I just tented on the we just went platform to platform through the
Right.
whites, pretty
Yeah.
much. And I was glad that I had a standalone, freestanding tent because, I mean, there was people I was hiking with. They got really good at it,
Right.
figuring
But
out
you
how
have
to
to be
get those
creative.
ones in. What's that?
Yeah, I said you have to be creative.
Yeah, you have to be like a little engineering,
Right.
skills with those. And I just to
Yeah.
set mine up and be like, oh, thankfully. But I like the platforms. Luckily, it wasn't as crowded because there's not a lot of them
Right.
as you go through there. But I like the huts for the you could get a snack
Right.
or
Yeah.
some food.
The nice
Yeah.
thing about the platforms were you knew you were going to be on level ground.
Yes. Yes, that was very nice.
Right.
Yep. And
I
no
didn't.
mud. Even if it rained, your stuff wouldn't
Right.
get muddy and things.
Exactly. I didn't stay at any of the huts. Phoenix did, and we just stayed on the platforms. But it was nice having that. What was that? An orange card? Did you have one of the orange
Yep.
cards?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you got what? You got the site for $5, the campsite for
Yep.
$5, and you got like a free soup or bread or pastry at the different huts along the way. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that. I always looked forward to that. The best thing that I liked about hiking through New Hampshire was we got a really nice day for Franconia Ridge,
Ah,
and we're going up, and it might have been a weekend because it was really busy, or a
right.
Friday maybe, but there was a lot of people, and it was my one of my kind of silly favorite parts of the trail because there's day hikers and young guys, and
Right.
they got their shirts off and stuff, and we're just like blowing by them all. Like it was the only time I
Right.
passed anyone on the entire trail. And I,
I
and
bet
I just
that's not
found
true.
felt like I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going by all these people, and they're
Yep.
all younger, 30 years younger than me. And but we're in such good shape by then.
Right. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite days. It was the only time I actually passed people on the trail, I
Yeah.
think.
I Franconia Ridge is one of my favorite places because
Yeah.
you can see one peak to the next. Uh, but it was also very humbling because I thought, oh yeah, this is gonna be a breeze. And then I'd look and the people were like this big. I'm like, okay, so maybe it won't be easy, but it's pretty. But
Yeah.
I thought
It's
I
cool. I
love
like looking back too, where you've been.
yes.
And it's
Yeah,
always kind of like a mind blowing. You're like, wow, I was way over there,
right.
and
Yep.
now I'm here, and that's really cool. Now, New Hampshire was, uh, we did get some mud in some spots, but New Hampshire I think was pretty nice to us for rain.
I felt like I had a lot of mud in New Hampshire. Did you fall in any bogs?
Yes, yep,
Twice.
yeah. Up to my just I didn't fall over, thankfully, but like one time I went and like went up to my kneecap.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
just, I mean, because the boards and things are just in the mud and they
Right.
rot, and
Yeah.
one wrong step and you're in
Yeah.
quicksand.
Were you tapping your poles to figure out where the boards were? Yeah, I
Yeah,
did too. And then I accidentally stepped between two boards and I went down. And then I had a hard time getting back up because I couldn't lean forward because my shin was hitting the board. So it was really hard to go straight up. So
yeah,
that
and
took
you got
a
your
little bit.
pack too, which
Right.
you get you get going one way or another. That's why poles. When I started backpack, when I hiked a lot up in Baxter and things, I would never use poles. I was 100% against them. And then the first time I did the 100-mile wilderness, my wife had read or something. She's like, "Well, you should take poles backpacking." I'm like, Well, she bought them without me knowing. I'm like, "Okay, I might as well take them." But those things saved my butt
So many.
so many times
Yeah.
because you put even 20 pounds of weight on your back, and you get going one way or the other with momentum, and that 20
Right.
pounds really makes a difference. I think I only saw definitely one person, maybe two, on the entire Appalachian Trail through hikers that didn't have poles. Maybe
Right.
just one person.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
It
think it
saved me
would be
from
kind of
falling.
foolhardy not to use them, honestly.
Right. Yeah. It saved me a ton. And it from falling, like it caught me. And because it changes your center of gravity too, having the backpack on plus the weight. But going downhill, I think it took a lot of pressure off my knees.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I use them as crutches going down. Like I know
right,
we had talked offline about Madison,
right.
going down Madison. I mean, that was brutal. I was doing that at the end of the day, and I was literally crutching my way down the
Yes,
backside of that.
yeah. I took a good fall on Madison. Yeah, not one of my favorites,
No, no.
but yeah, that was. I also use my trekking pole as a spider web whacker.
Yep.
So
Yep.
dual purpose.
Yeah. I use my hat because I'm a little taller, or tall enough, I guess. And in the mornings, if I knew I was the first one out or close to it, I would kind of tip my hat like a cow catcher on a
Right.
train, and hopefully just they'd gather up on my hat. And I remember I
Yeah.
was hiking with Pilgrim, and Pilgrim's probably like 5. I've definitely got a bunch of inches on him.
Right.
And
Right.
he'd always say, "Well, why don't you start in the morning to clear all the spider webs?" He goes, "Then I'll come out."
Right.
I'm
Because
like,
he's not going
"All
to
right."
clear them for you either way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It didn't matter, maybe
Right.
save me from my chin, but yeah, I remember that. And like especially in Southern Virginia, like ticks and things like that. Like I
Did you
was
experience ticks?
cursing.
Oh, I think you told me you did. You had some ticks?
Yeah, I'd stopped counting at 40.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yep,
didn't get one
yeah. I only had one that was like like
embedded.
stuck to me, like lodged. I
Right.
found it, and it ended up just being I'm pretty sure a wood tick. I did take a dose of doxycycline just as a prophylaxis,
Right.
precautionary. Most of the other ones I had, but there was a spot south of Marion. There was a stretch where it was just like you couldn't see the trail. And being a maintainer, I'm probably a
Right.
little more picky and
Right.
judgmental probably than
Right.
maybe I should be or not. But I'm like, just whose section is this? Like
Right.
I'm
You're
just
talking about where all
talking
the
out loud.
grass is growing in on it.
Yeah,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
you couldn't
it was
see
terrible. Yeah.
literally couldn't see the trail,
Yeah.
and that's right. That's where the ticks are going to get you. And I remember finding a little overlook along the way, and I found a good. I was FaceTiming with my wife, and she's like, "You literally have a tick right now crawling on your shoulder. Can you take it off, please?"
Can you take it off, please?
She could see it on FaceTime, and I looked down. There's like a tick going like this, but
Wow.
yeah, I don't like those. You kind of get used to that stuff.
Right.
I wasn't a big snake fan because we don't have those snakes in Maine.
Right.
We just got little
Babies.
garden snakes or
Right.
whatever. So I'm not a big snake fan.
Yeah.
But the bears, did you see? I don't know. Did you see many bears or?
No, we didn't see hardly any. I saw one in Georgia, but it was really far away from us down in like a valley, and we got a good view of it through a camera, and that was it. And then we saw Phoenix and season one saw one, but they were ahead of me. And then we saw one go across the trail, but it was way ahead of us. And then we saw one at Baxter State Park going across the road as we were heading to the ranger station, and that was it.
Oh wow.
We wanted to see a moose. Did you see a moose?
No, I had promised my friends hiking with me. I've never hiked. Uh, Finishing this year, the through hike was the first time I'd ever hiked through the 100-mile wilderness without seeing a moose.
Wow.
And I had promised them, I'm like, I'm not 100%, but you're probably going to see a moose. And they're like, no moose, no moose. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you guys must have been bad luck because I always see one.
And there were
But
a couple campsites or shelters that were right by lakes or ponds. And I thought for sure, so we'd try to get up early in the morning and look and try to stay, at dusk and see if we could. I even made up a moose call and it didn't work.
wow.
So, but,
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
day, perhaps.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
But, well, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to share? I want you to tell people about your YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yep.
Yes.
So I did, like yourself, video every day out there, and I tried to keep it real, not make it all like, oh, it's another great day. And because I think it's important for people to do that, because since I've got back, I'd watched some different channels
Right.
and things, and like, how is every day like just the greatest day ever? There was some yucky days out
Right.
there where
Right.
either physically or the weather or mentally that
Right.
I was just out of it because you hike that long and not every day can be good. But
Right.
it's Sloggy Hikes, SLOGGY Hikes at Sloggy Hikes. I started it when I went to Kilimanjaro, just so my friends that I went with would have a place to be able to go and
Nice.
watch the video. I did like
Right.
it's almost like a documentary, but I did
Exactly.
our whole trip on one video, and then I'm like, well, I'll do the AT too for my daughters, my grandkids to watch.
Right.
But it's become a lot of fun to
Yeah.
do it. I know you have fun with yours
I
too,
love
and
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just out in the Southwest doing like Zion and, Grand Canyon, all those places. And I did it out there. And it's just I don't know, it's just a good resting spot for memories.
Right.
And I've had people mention to me, like, we did the Wave, which is just an incredible bucket list hike out there, and it's permit only. And I had a gentleman watch it, and he's like, thank you so much for posting the video. He goes, I have a permit. I'm going to be there in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And he
That's
goes,
awesome.
just being able to see it and some things, a couple things you pointed out,
Right.
it's going to be cool to do it. So
Yep.
I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll keep doing it. And
Yeah. I think that's great.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I like it. Because I hope that it inspires other people to get out and do, and we're both over 50.
There you go.
So it's hopefully inspiring for, our generation of people to get out and experience what's outside, and just being able to give them exposure to different places that we've been, that maybe they could go or try to find places where they're at, I think is really fun. And it's a community, like the people that make comments on your YouTube, and it's a really fun community to be involved in. So we're going to
Mhm.
leave a link up by you
Okay.
when we close this out, so people can get to your channel and find you.
Awesome.
Look
Thank
at
you.
all the cool things that you've been doing with your channel. So
Yeah. Awesome.
good.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, good luck this spring with your shuttling and
Yeah.
with your trail maintaining. And appreciate you doing that, because I mean, I know because you were out there with us, but it really does make a big difference for us hikers out there when we're out there. And you've got both sides of it. You know it as a maintainer and know it as a hiker. So that's a pretty cool experience. So, what
Yeah.
number were you, just out of curiosity, when you finished the
Oh,
Baxter?
I
Do you have
was.
your Baxter number? I have my tag right here. I brought him out just so I could.
Hold on. I've got it.
Yeah, you got a wall of fame back there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of my hikes up there.
That's awesome.
Hold on. I've got it here. So I remember I was 728 at Harper's Ferry.
Okay.
Let's see. I was
You went through Harper's Ferry before us. I think I was 748.
I was 2150 at Amicalola.
2150? Wow. I
Yep.
was 1486.
Yep.
So you were, yeah, there were a lot of
And then
between us.
so 2150, 728. Then I was 609.
Right. And what day did you summited on the 7th? Is that right?
8th, one day
On
before
the
you
8th.
guys.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
And you were what? 608?
Yep.
Okay. I was
609, 607 actually. It looks
607.
like a
I was
seven.
614. So yeah, we were right
Yep.
around the same.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, we didn't have many people. I think I only saw, well, there was four of us, myself, Solar, Econoline, and Dixon, and then a young guy from the UK, Price Tag, I think, real tall guy,
Right.
and then another young guy and gal. So I think there
Right.
was only seven of us. I mean, it wasn't a perfect day. It actually opened up nicely when we got up there.
Right.
So it was fine. It wasn't raining or
Right.
anything.
Ours was
And
cold and wet and
yeah,
windy.
and I had like a group of, I think, 11 people with me, 10
Wow.
people.
Wow. Oh yeah,
My,
because you had your family that met you up there.
yeah,
Did they
yeah,
hike up
and they
with
had
you, or
bought.
did they see you when you came down?
Oh, everybody summited.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a long day.
Right.
Like it was
Yeah.
a lot longer than if I had just done it by myself. But I had
Right.
my two daughters. One of them like 4 months pregnant. She did
Oh
it.
my gosh.
My other daughter, my wife, my sister-in-law, and then son-in-law. A couple of people that I'd met on the AT, a husband and wife, like 2 years ago, and then a
Wow.
buddy of mine. So we had nine people.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
It was,
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it was. And I'll finish with this. I've been asked many times because I've done Katahdin a lot, and everybody was like, "Well, it'll probably be no big deal when you get there because you've climbed it so many times." And it was just, it's so emotional to end
Yeah,
it
I
for a
get
lot of
emotional
reasons.
just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's. I think I had interviewed Solo, and I think she put it best. She said it felt like she had lost a relationship,
Yeah.
almost like a breakup or something.
Yeah.
That really struck a chord to me
Yeah.
because it was when I finished on the summit, it was my 72nd summit of Katahdin,
Oh my gosh.
but it was unlike any other,
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So
I can
it was
understand.
pretty awesome, and to have all the family and stuff there too
Right.
was, even if the hike did end up taking another 6 hours, and it probably should have, but it was great. I wouldn't
Right.
have had
I'm
it any
getting
other way.
emotional just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, it was
awesome.
something else. So,
Yep.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing with us, and I really enjoyed our conversation. So,
Yeah, me as well. Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. And again, good luck this spring. I hope you have a great experience with your shuttling, and I know that you'll inspire some of those hikers that are, needing whatever it is that they need. I'm sure that they're going to get that filled from you. So,
Yeah.
you're such a positive impact, and
Yeah.
so just a real pleasant person to be around. So thank you. And I will be sharing all this with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy our chatting that we're doing and getting a little taste of what it was like for us to be out on the trail. So we will see you all later, and I hope you have a great day. Bye for now. Peace out.